Welcome to EntrePods, the most cutting-edge podcast for entrepreneurs and investors. We answer the hottest question today. So now what? We are radically civilized with a focus on doable solutions that make the most positive impacts in your business, financial, personal, and community life. The world right now belongs to entrepreneurs. Today, we'll show you through our expert conversations that matter, the limitless opportunities you have right now to live the life of your dreams. The best version of you and your business starts now. Welcome to EntrePods.
Good morning or afternoon, EntrePods. This is Jennifer Glegerich, and I am so happy that you're here today. And we have another wonderful guest. The wonderful woman that we have on today is the CEO of Nectar Consulting, and she's also the co-author of the best-selling book, Breakthrough Healing. She's been an executive coach and entrepreneur for over 25 years, and she has a unique rapid rewiring approach, which culminates years of study. She's a certified coach. She is certified in rapid transformational therapy, and she's certified as a hypnotherapist. She's also a consultant. She spent years honing this craft to really give incredible transformational change to her clients. And I'm really excited to have her here today because she also has been talking about imposter syndrome. And we know right now we've all had like a little bit of a dip in the universe, and we need to get out of that because we're recreating something new. So I want to welcome and give a great big EntrePods welcome to Michele Molitor. Welcome to the show, Michele.
Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for having me here. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Well, I'm excited to have you too. And I love having female entrepreneurs. And I especially like ones that I can see, you know, as we're going through your bio, I'm like, you have just really spent a lot of time dialing in, getting certified, and really honing the practice of being a coach and consultant. I know that I'm a fractional consultant, and so I'm certified as a coach. And I can't tell you how important it is because we have, during this time, everybody got laid off. There seems to be this explosion of coaches, quote unquote coaches, and quote unquote consultants who've never like really done it before. And so, you know, I don't want to stop people from living their dream and living their bliss, but at the same time, you want someone who can really help you with it. And unfortunately, the banks have had such a problem that now, BBVA Compass shut down their ASLO bank, which was a solution for tens of thousands of small businesses. And they just shut it down they gave like 45 days and everybody had to get new business accounts. And it was only for the business accounts. And that's all ASLO did. And so I'm scrambling. I finally found a great bank, Bank Novo. One of my accounts went back to my credit union. But when I was applying, you know, as we do for business accounts, one of the questions it asks is, you know, are you in sex work? Are you a gambler? Do you process money? Are you a coach or consultant? And so I just had to do this in April, and I thought, since when has being a coach or consultant been lumped in with those?
Yeah, I've never heard of that. Lord of
no,
mercy.
and that hasn't happened before. And now I've had the show and I've had experts come on and they said, yeah. So I'm really glad to have you on the show because you have all the bells and whistles and all the certifications behind you. And so it's just great to talk to you. And I want our audience to be exposed to more people that are like you, who have really honed into things. So let's talk about what you're doing right now. Like what's the big thing that's taking up Michele's days currently?
Well, let's see. There's two parts to my brain, Jennifer. There's the one-on-one work that I do with individuals around personal well-being, which is my rapid rewiring process, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a 90-day program that I take folks through. And I'm a bit of a mind detective. So using a combination of coaching, hypnotherapy, and NLP, I'm able to literally have a conversation with your subconscious and get at the root causes of the limiting beliefs that we hold that are manifesting as blocks to prosperity, blocks to health and well-being, blocks to relationships, because of the mindsets that we're holding about ourselves that oftentimes we adopted as children, right? Given to us by the adults in the room, whatever that might have been. Right. So that's one big piece of the work that I do, and I help people, reclaim their confidence, their self-esteem, their self-worth, so that they can be more successful entrepreneurs. They can be better leaders. They can be better parents. They can be better in relationships in so many different ways, and improve their health and their well-being. The other side of my brain is the consulting side of my business. And last year, because as an outcropping of the pandemic and everything that happened in our nation, I also created an employee well-being program that focuses on emotional, social, and leadership well-being. So, because so many companies had to pivot and start operating remotely, and everyone was going through a lot of emotional trauma because of what was happening globally, what happened with George Floyd, all of that unrest and dis-ease created huge ripple effects in corporations, right? So, and most HR folks, God bless them, they did not have a full set of tools in their toolbox to handle the outpouring that was required. So I have a team of consultants as well that are experts in mindfulness, in well-being, in leadership development, and racial justice. And we create customized programs for corporations to help them move through these challenging times post-pandemic, to really learn how to manifest greater employee well-being, which then creates greater connections with their clients, right? So it's this inside out approach that I've always taken, because whether you work for yourself or you work for the man, so to speak, the better you can understand yourself and be at peace here, the more effective you're going to be no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that there's a cognitive dissonance that's really inside of a lot of people right now, from what they're being told and what their experiences are, and what they're told their experiences should do for them. It's like, it's almost like, I feel like social media wants people to be angry. They want people to be upset. And sometimes people are like, but what if that's not my experience? What if my experience is just annoyance? Or what if my experience is something else? So there's just all these dissociations that are being perpetuated by these climates, these powerful shifts. I mean, change is in the air, and change is never easy. And so I think that we're going through societal shifts. Just in moving people to remote, I've been scaling companies virtually for a decade. And the way you manage people remotely when you have a fully remote workforce is a completely different management model than the traditional system is. You deal with people very differently. You manage them differently. The managers and the C-suite, it's like a different type of business, and the old model does not work anymore. And so there's this thing, and once people see the new way, because the technology's been there for a long time, I've been doing it for a decade since this, but there is this, no, we have to do it this other way. Even though the new way is actually better, it's better for the planet, it strengthens communities, it strengthens families, it brings wealth back into these tiny centers that then can really flourish and prosper, which helps schools, helps all these different things, right?
Totally. There's a massive ripple effect of it. And it's really the rest of this year is going to be really interesting as big companies like, I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So Google and Facebook and Twitter, they're all like, we're going back into the office, but it's going to be on a limited, like 3 days a week kind of thing. And, trying to determine and dictate, well, is everybody in the office on these days, or is it you get to be in the office on the days you want to be? How is that going to work? How is that going to look? And everybody's just like, whoa, what is this? What is this? Well,
it's going to be hard. Like, I was in San Francisco, not this last February before, like right before, things really went nuts. And there was a tower that a major company had built, and it was been leaning. Which one is that? The something building. And it's like,
it's an apartment building that is quite tall. It's not
Yes.
quite as tall as the Salesforce Tower, which is now the pinnacle in San Francisco,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's got a bit of got a little bit of
A lean to it.
a lean going on.
And so I was having conversations with people talking about the Google facilities and everything else, because we were meeting people who were working at the little outcrop buildings. And I met like an engineer, and they were making great money, but they could only afford to live in this caravan city, which for here where I'm from, that would have been a homeless city. And I'm like, how can an engineer live like a homeless? Like it was like going to another country. And it could, I couldn't believe it. My best friend is a boutique hotel consultant. So she was doing a long-term project for months there at a hotel right in downtown. I mean, we were right next to Financial District, beautiful area. And it was the craziest experience, but I loved it. But I thought, what's going to happen? I was talking to her and I said, what is going to happen when they have to abandon all these mega builds because everybody's going to be leaving to go back home? Just think how great that's going to be. And she goes, why is that great? Because we can repurpose them. There's such a homeless population there. Look at San Francisco. They could actually repurpose these massive builds in different ways to provide shelter, to provide, there is an entire untapped market of reuse there, like there used to be,
Sure.
Look at Haight-Ashbury. There's a secondhand market that's thriving there. And that helps, when you build a good product and it can go through generations, be sold and resold. Now you've created not just the people who are selling your product, but then years later, somebody's going to make a business out of selling and reselling and fixing it and making it better or changing it up, turning it into art, right? So there's all these wonderful things that we can upcycle,
Totally.
It's just how you look at it, right? So we need to put the emphasis back. Well, how are we going to look at it to turn it to a more positive, conversation for that? So for all the people that are going through this change, I'm actually fascinated that you do consulting and coaching, but that you also do hypnotherapy. You have really incorporated some wonderful and powerful tools that are not mainstream, which I love, because what we don't know is so vast. And so people who are able to
we only know a sliver of what we think we know, right?
No, yeah. So little. So tell me, when you first started doing that, how has that changed and morphed in your business and what you're doing and helping people?
Sure. So I've been a professional coach now, Jennifer, for 20 years. My anniversary comes up in just a few months. Yay. And all along that path, I've always been a seeker in, different modalities and ways of learning and doing. And how do I be the best coach for my clients so they get the most out of our work together? And several years ago, I discovered this modality called Rapid Transformational Therapy, or RTT for short. And it's its own unique blend that brings together cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy kind of all rolled up into one. And so I've brought coaching into that as well. So over a period of 90 days, I'm able to literally help people regain their confidence, regain their sense of self-worth and self-esteem, and eliminate oftentimes physical ailments that have been a manifestation of those limiting beliefs. So in a very short periods of time, I've helped clients eliminate chronic migraines, chronic IBS, adrenal fatigue, psoriasis, arthritis, all sorts of things, which you think, oh no, that's an inflammation disorder. Yes, and it's because of the beliefs that we're holding that our emotions didn't have a place to go. So they manifested in these other ways. And it has, bringing together all of these modalities in my work has absolutely transformed the work that I do, because now instead of having 6 or 12-month engagements with clients, I typically can help them in 30 to 90 days. And they're done. So I worked myself out of a job pretty quickly, but it's a deep dive work. It's not for the faint of heart, but if folks who have like, oh my gosh, I've tried everything else, please help me. Those are the folks that I have amazing results with, because they're really committed to doing the work. And, a lot of it is done in this in this place of alpha brainwave state. It's a state of hypnosis, right? It's that half awake, half asleep place. You're awake, you're able to answer my questions, but your body's just really, really relaxed, as if you just woken up from a nap, right? And it's in that alpha brainwave state that we're actually able to tap into and have a conversation with your subconscious, which is like 90% of your brain power, right? And so when you can get at those deeply held beliefs that you probably have no conscious awareness of, you can see how they have been guiding your life, all in an attempt to keep you safe, right? Thanks to your amygdala. Your amygdala is that fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in your brain. I like to call her Amy. Amy's your amygdala. She just wants to keep you safe and alive and on the planet, right? Yeah. But if you don't correct the beliefs that your amygdala is holding, then that's how you will operate. That's how you will see the world from the moment you adopt those beliefs, even if it's at age 2 or 5 or 10, right? And so this work enables me.
Or trauma later on in life. That
absolutely.
You think that you're through now. I got through that. I'm fine, right? That's
right. And we power.
Like, those are the famous last words, right?
Right.
Fine.
We power through.
Yeah, power
absolutely.
Through.
And so when you can identify those traumas, because I work with folks who've had horrific traumas, right? That have left very indelible marks in their mind, body, and spirit. And when you're able to look at those through this other lens and eliminate the emotional charge, we basically neutralize it, right? We can't change your history, but we can change how you react to it. So when you move that emotional charge out of the way, then we reprogram your thinking, literally building new neural pathways in your brain, with a customized recording that I make for each of my clients that they listen to every night as they drift off to sleep, right? Because your brain's always listening. So I'm instilling new empowering beliefs, thoughts, and habits in a particular cadence and rhythm with a binaural music track in the background that allows them to really relax and move again into that alpha brainwave state to just absorb these new beliefs, these new ideas about themselves. So that becomes their new way of being and enables them to move boldly into their life, to find their voice, to reclaim their confidence, and turn up the volume of how they want to live their life in a good way versus based on traumas that they've been surviving for a long time.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm like sitting here going, I want to do that because I know how much that works. I actually had been experiencing, just a personal story. I went through a horrible relationship and I was done. The person was out. I'm now should be fine, right? Years, but I finally got through it. And now, I'm on my own. It's supposed to be all great. And suddenly I started experiencing debilitating lower back pain. The type that just getting out of bed was agony. Like, are my legs going to give out? And I had not experienced, I hadn't fallen. Nothing had happened. It was just debilitating. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is also a therapist. And she said, I want to do some energy work on you. And the entire time she's talking, and I love and respect her. We had a show back in the early 2000s. So that was a long time ago, right? And we had the whole show where we had these other wonderful women that would come on. And she said, no, let me try. And I'm thinking, whatever. Okay, I'll do it. Because at that time it hurt physically so much that I was willing to try anything. And I didn't, my family has a history of addiction. I don't want to take any pain medications. Plus I have a thing against big pharma anyway. So, okay, let's do it. So I laid in a safe place. I thought about it, and she's off in another state doing her work. Within 3 sessions over the course of maybe a week, the pain was completely gone. It never came back again.
The EntrePods team is excited to announce the new Bootstrap Bootcamp to answer all your questions about the how and when and push you to be the best version of yourself. Watch as your business becomes more profitable in the next 30 days with industry experts to help you along the way. We teach you powerful strategies that companies around the world implement that are refined for small business owners like yourself. Sign up today at entrepods.com/bootstrap-bootcamp.
Yep.
And there was nothing else I was doing other than opening myself up to what she was telling me and repeating the things that she had said. And it just went, but other things, how I started making breakthroughs in some other areas too. And if anybody would have told me that before, had I not gotten to a pace of actual,
you'd been like, yeah, right.
I've been like, whatever. Yeah.
It's, it's fascinating. One of my favorite quotes, Jennifer, is emotions that cannot find their vent in tears will cause other organs to weep. Dr. Henry Moseley from like the 1800s. And basically it's so true, right? If you think about it, we have emotions, which are thoughts, which are energy. And when we think these thoughts, when we feel these emotions, it releases this energy and these different chemicals in our brain. So if there's stressful thoughts, then we release cortisol and adrenaline, right? And if you don't go and run from that saber-tooth tiger that you feel is threatening you, then all of that stuff gets pent up in your body. And it's got to go somewhere, right? So yours collected in your lower back. I had a similar story, right? I had debilitating back pain as well. I literally rolled out of bed on Thanksgiving Day and went, and couldn't barely walk for 9 months. And I had cortisol shots to my spine. I had all this stuff. Nothing worked. And it wasn't until I did some of the similar deep work that, boom, I was off painkillers. I was off Vicodin. I had been on like 2 or 3 of those a day just to get through the day. And it was done like that. And so it's
crazy how it works, guys. If y'all are listening to this going, this would never work for me. I know I've been to this slew of people or blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, if you are at a place where you can't stand it anymore, start to think outside the box. Just try it. Which the worst thing that could happen is open yourself up and say, I'm open.
Your mind is such a powerful tool that we have. And the things that we created to protect ourselves, air quotes, right? At a very young age, we can uncreate. Here's a great story. A woman who worked with me, she had unusually sweaty hands. And she gross, she couldn't deal with it. She had all these things that she tried to stop her hands from.
Hyperhidrosis.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we found through the work that we did together that these unusual but disparate scenes from her childhood, basically, she was afraid to be left on her alone. She was mad that her big sister got more attention than she did. And she had to sit outside of her house while her sister came home from school because her mother had to go to work, right? Because she didn't want to go in the house by herself because she thought they were ghosts, right? Random kind of scenes that would come up in the work, but she was able to connect the dots and see that, the sweaty hands and feet was a way for her to process her emotions because she was British, right? And you're not supposed to cry. You got to keep it all. You're tough, right? And so that was an acceptable way for her to process her emotions and to get more attention than her sister, right? And it was still going on at age 43. So when we discovered this, we literally turned the switch off and it was done.
Really? And they just stopped sweating? Or meanwhile, you can go through it, the treatment for hyperhidrosis, which I knew someone who suffered from that. I need to, well, I don't know that. I think they ended up getting it fixed because there is a surgery you can get and they go under your arm. There is some set of nerves and they do all this stuff, but it's the side effects that can happen. It's not like some easy little surgery. It's a big old deal.
No, that's a major surgery.
Yeah, incredibly expensive too, of course.
Right. So this work is a lot less traumatizing than going through surgery, I promise. It's more of an emotional surgery where you're, excavating.
Sometimes
and
that's scarier. Right?
Yes.
What if I start crying? I know that.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Crying is fully allowed. I've had people snotting out their face, right? It's just how it goes. But, better to cry and release. Crying is a very natural release of energy, right? That's all it is. It's just a release of energy that creates, wet. That's all. Yeah. It's not going to hurt anybody. And so why not allow yourself to heal in a natural way? Right. And configure how you're seeing yourself and releasing emotional trauma from your body so that your body is allowed to heal and support you in the way that it's meant to, wholly and completely and naturally, right?
Right. So for anyone who's sitting there going, you know what, I'm finding it hard to get through this one chapter of our lives into a new chapter, because, we're all moving into some different chapters, it seems like. And there's comfort in that too, because we're all doing it together as humanity. So
right.
that can be comforting too. But this is definitely something to think about. And by the way, if y'all are just now tuning in, we're talking Michele Molitor, and that's MicheleMolitor.com. And you can also get some incredible freebies if you're listening to them. One of which is, do you have imposter syndrome, which is the last bit of thing we're going to talk about before we leave. And it's 6 triggers that are crushing your confidence. We'll have the link to this. Michele has written several books. She is an incredible author, a wonderful coach, certified in all of this stuff. She spent years honing her craft. So it's definitely somebody you need to listen to. So the last thing I wanted to get into today is imposter syndrome. So can you talk a little bit about that? I know that we've talked about it on the show, guys, but it's great to get other viewpoints too on it, because, different people resonate with different listeners. So go ahead and just
sure. Well, imposter syndrome basically is an overwhelming fear of being found out as a fraud. I'm not as good as you think I am. I'm not as talented. I'm not as smart. I lucked out getting to where I am. You might have all the accolades in the world, and people with, who suffer from imposter syndrome are like, oh, well, I was just lucky, or I was in the right place at the right time, or I knew somebody who knew somebody, right? They're not able to really take in those accolades, because underneath all of that, there's a fear that they're going to be found out, and that I'm not in the place where I actually am. I don't belong here. And so, it's something that I had suffered from in my former career. I was a creative director in web development, got moved to San Francisco at the height of the original .com boom in 2000. Oh, wow. And I essentially got bullied out of my job, and it was devastating to me. And,
yeah, because that must have been so exciting, right? Because back then at that time, it wasn't like it is now. It was just like this glorious place.
It was a wild, wild west, girl. It was. We were in an old brick building in South San Francisco with a walk up, and oh yeah, I can tell you all sorts of stories about that. But I hired these 2 guys to be on my team, and they really didn't like working for a woman. And at every turn, they would say things to me. They would make snide remarks. They would undercut me in front of clients. They would do all sorts of things. And all of that chipped away at my confidence more and more. And then it became this self-fulfilling prophecy. And ultimately I got fired. And it was crushing. It was absolutely crushing to me. And that's what led me to coaching. So it was a blessing in disguise, but that's what has me be so passionate about helping people reclaim their confidence, because I know how it feels. I've been there and experienced it through every cell and fiber of my body. And so imposter syndrome is that desire to kind of hide out, to kind of fly under the radar. I don't want to be found out. I don't want to be seen too much. And all of that is impacting someone's ability to shine, to really have the success and the joy and the peace of mind in their life that they're so worthy and deserving of. And so when you're able to identify it, then you can start to eliminate it and shift the conversation you're having with yourself. 70% of people have suffered from imposter syndrome at some point in their careers, right? And 25% of high achievers are dealing with imposter syndrome. So
you'd be amazed, guys, how many people we just were talking with the incredible E.A. Solkovitz, whose mentor, Sam Robbins. He was a 17-year-old janitor, and said no about 10 times. I'm not going there. I don't know anything about this. And he was like, take these samples to this guy. He just called us. It could be business. So the kid goes up there, they end up talking, and something happened. It was a spark. And that guy became his lifelong mentor. And he had said no about 10 times before he got there. And one of the things that he told him throughout their time together, they said, he goes, it's not going to be hard earning your first million. Because he was just a really hard worker, and he was very dedicated because he had come from nothing. And he said, well, what's harder? He goes, realizing that you're worth it.
Yes.
And he said, that's going to take you a lot of work. You're really going to, you're going to work a lot at that. And he said, and I remember being so young thinking, whatever. And he goes, but really that I ended up having to get another mentor, and having him mentor me, because it becomes a very big limiting belief. So imposter syndrome is for some of the richest, most wealthiest people. It's for everybody. Everybody gets it at some point, but we all have a purpose on this planet. And it is our divine right to use that purpose to the best of our ability to help others and to be a bright light in this world. So don't let anybody dull it.
Exactly. And, that sense of feeling not worthy, not deserving of unconditional love, unconditional worthiness, it's available to all of us, right? And it's something that can very easily be squashed at a young age, right? It's something that happened to me. I grew up in a abnormally normal family. I have loving parents and loving siblings, and yet there are little things that happened to me in my family growing up that made me think that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't deserving, that I wasn't lovable, all of which had a massive impact on my relationships, on my success, and so many things, right? That's taken me years to literally figure out and move beyond, right? So my passion and my purpose is to really help be a mirror and shine a light for others so that they can see reflected back through my eyes the amazing human beings that they are, the worthiness that they are, so they can go, oh, okay, I get it, right? And that moment that somebody really realizes that they are worthy, they are deserving, they are enough, then the whole thing starts to shift and change in a really good way. It's amazing to watch.
It is amazing to watch. Well, we're here at the end. I could talk to Michele forever, but we've been talking to Michele Molitor at MicheleMolitor.com. We have some wonderful freebies. We'll have so many links that you can link up to her. There's so much that you're going to be able to learn, and go and do it. Go get whole. And guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for Michele for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my sincere pleasure. Always a joy. And I hope everybody listening has a safe and blessed day.
I know they will. And guys, thank you so much for being here on EntrePods. This is the end of our episode. For now, be sure to like, comment, and share, and give us that 5-star rating so I can keep on getting the most wonderful people in the world like Michele here on the show. And thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening, and please go give us a 5-star rating on your preferred listening platform if you enjoyed the show. This helps us reach more listeners like you and keep booking amazing guests. If you'd like to join our growing EntrePods community, want our social media links to like or share, or inquire about one-on-one strategy calls with our host Jennifer, please visit EntrePods.com. See you next time, and here's to you and your best life imaginable.